Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, guys.
Scotch for Dummies here, plus a couple of special guests.
Welcome. Thursday night, gentlemen.
How's everybody doing?
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
So if you notice, we do not have Mark with us.
Twinkie.
So we exchanged him for two better people, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it takes two people to replace the talkativeness of Mark.
That is true.
And
That's
we
not
still,
a lie.
don't
we
make up
still
for it.
really
Still
got to
can't
talk a
make
lot.
So tonight we have Mike with us, and we have our neighbor Eric. So we got a pretty full show, to be honest with you. No
Hold on.
sound.
This is no sound.
All right.
No.
Road Mike is showing.
We got
What
sound.
are you doing?
We got sound.
Oh,
I just saw somebody say we have sound.
Output.
I don't know why it's doing this. Maybe they have it now. Let's see what happens.
Are we good now?
It's somebody's fault.
What the fuck?
Cheers.
So welcome to Scotch Night. This is Dr. Scotch for Dummies again.
Sound test dummies. All right.
Got audio yet? Hopefully there.
Mike, you need to chew on your
All right,
glasses
got
since
Tom,
Mark
our
isn't
thing.
here.
Thanks, Tom.
There we go. Mike, eat your glasses. All right. Slowly. You got to examine a bottle while you're doing it.
And rub
Stare
the,
off in
rub,
the
rub the
distance.
box, too.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
So, since we don't have Mark, we replaced him with Mike and our neighbor Eric this evening.
Hopefully they can talk to
Hoogan!
us.
What's up, buddy?
And we got a lot of good stuff going on.
We do.
got some special Dr. Scotch stuff tonight.
We sure
We
do.
got some great stuff. So, you want to
Let's go through
roll
who's
up?
on.
We'll say
Yeah,
hi to
roll up.
everybody. Looks like we got a good show going on. Michael Stickle from
The Stickler.
Azerbaijan. Nice.
Oh my
Good to see you.
God.
Jimmy T's here. Zach's here, of course. He was
Trooper.
on the pre-show with us. Trooper Henry's here. Jason Carroll. Good evening, sir. Also saw you earlier. Mark Burns. Too Slow. Welcome, sir.
Scotch in the bayou.
Drew keeps clicking buttons and messing me up. My whiskey peeps. We are discussing one of your favorites. I figured we'd see you tonight, Leanne.
She's ready for
Who else we got? Raymond Garcia. Good evening.
it. Brienne.
Brienne.
Mrs.
Yep.
Porter is on tonight.
Nice to see you.
What's she drinking, I wonder?
Hopefully something good out of her husband's secret stash, right? Now get in there and get some of the good stuff he's thinking he's setting aside. American Scotch Doctor. All
Interesting.
right.
I like
That's a-
Tom
all
Arter's
right.
little glass thing
Oh,
right there.
American.
What
We're
is
going to have
that?
the battle,
Look at
Mr.
that.
American
Well,
Scotch Doctor.
You get these little it means they're members now because we're over 10,000. You can get
Oh.
membership, and because of that, they have extra icons now they can use.
They can do all kinds of
Fancy
cool
pants.
Does it
stuff.
show up green in the
Fancy
comments?
schmancy.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, who else we got on here?
Herb Baird.
The intro had no sound. Interesting. Okay,
That's okay.
we'll fix that in a minute. I think I know what the problem was.
You always
KB's
know.
on, y'all. He made it.
All right.
Cheers, KB. Battle shots for everybody.
Battle shot.
So guys, something I'm going to have to work on behind the scenes here. So Whiskey Mystery is on. So Whiskey Mystery had a great show today. They were on, I don't know, about 4 o'clock or something like that, and they did their blind like normal. One of the things they do, I guess, is I didn't realize this, is when you super chat them, they put your name in a little can, and they draw your name out, after so many super chats, and send you samples, I guess.
Oh,
So I
that's
won.
awesome.
I won a while back, and they sent me some great samples. It was awesome. So during today's show,
Were they
Uh-oh.
stuff that they identified, or did you have to figure this out?
I knew what they were.
It
was
would have
really
been more
good.
fun if they just were like,
I know.
here you go.
Take
Good luck.
But
have fun
today's
with
show,
that Johnny Walker White.
no. Today's show was cool. I sent them 5 from us, and like normal, I put my name in there. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just send it to somebody else,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so all of a sudden, they started getting bombarded. They got super chat after super chat after super chat. They've got, I don't know how much they got today. It was great. It was just, they went like an extra hour and a half long today. 'cause
Holy
it was just
cow.
a really good event. I'm like, you know what? I switched over my personal account. I gave them $50. I'm like, you guys go buy a bottle, enjoy. And they were really happy with it. They're like, well, write Drew's name down. Like, but I'm like, no, just put it in there. So long story short is, they drew my name like 3 times. I'm like, I'll tell you what, I got an idea. During our show tonight, I'll randomly pick 3 people from our show tonight that's watching, and those 3 people will get sent. I have to look it up. I think it's a 23-year-old Craig Alecky.
Wow.
It's a sherry too. It's pretty damn amazing.
That'll be ridiculous.
So
Excellent.
we're gonna do that in a little while. Make sure you guys stay on.
Nice.
Comment
Yeah.
so we know where you are. We're gonna have the bot pick random people later in the show.
So yeah, definitely comment so we can get your name in the hat.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
if you comment,
That's cool.
your name will go on the hat. Then you will send. If you get picked, you'll send us your information, your mailing address, and then we'll pass on to Whiskey Mystery, and you'll get a sample.
Exactly.
Owl mail directly to you because you can't send it through mail. But samples will be
It'll be magically teleported.
teleported to your place because that will be
Now-
illegal to send.
Now's about the time that
Drone.
Mark starts commenting.
Where's Mark? He's there somewhere.
I want some. I want some.
If I were him, I would be commenting right now.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Did you say 23-year-old Scotch? I'm there. I'm
Right,
there.
yeah.
All right. So, do we want to start the podcast? We'll intro this bottle.
Let me just make sure everything else is going real
Wait.
quick here, so it looks like it's okay.
We did hit a wrong button, so we didn't start out with our normal intro. So I'm going to.
We can do it now, I guess. If the
Yeah,
sound's on.
it'll be
so
fine. We'll intro it, and then we're going to say hi to
we're gonna
everybody
do
on
a
this
redo.
thing.
So, all right, guys.
So you get to see me do this live without any practice. So it'll be great.
Do you want to have this up right here so you can see?
Yeah,
it?
that'd be awesome.
All right.
That was the intention to start out.
Right.
All
I was
right.
like, what am I doing?
Right.
I don't.
All right,
know.
guys.
All right.
Podcast in 3, 2. What's up, guys?
Hey guys. Tonight we're going to be discussing our review of the Glen Scotia Victoriana. It was a great bottle. We scored it a 3.25 altogether. We're also going to be discussing NAS whiskeys. What does it mean? How does it compare aged Scotch? Is it good, bad, indifferent? Who knows? We're going to talk about all that. And then Dr. Scotch is going to be stopping by. We're going to be discussing E150 and how that affects our whiskey. Hey
Hey
guys.
guys, it is Scotch for Dummies.
4 guys on a Scotch journey to help you with your next Scotch purchase. I'm Drew.
I'm Sean.
I'm Andrew, and we have 2 additional guests.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Eric.
Woohoo! Nice job, gentlemen. Nice
All
job.
right.
First podcast.
That was
Woo!
good. That was good.
Solid.
We're missing Mark this evening. I don't know if we're missing him, but he's not here. So
We really haven't been
No,
missing work.
we're sad he's not here, but we have Mike joining us and Eric, our neighbor, as well. So we got some stuff to go through tonight, guys. We're going to be talking about our review this week, the Glen Scotia Victoriana, which got a lot of comments.
It did.
From us as well as everybody who watched the review. You just are having a glass right now, Eric.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on it? Do you like it?
I do. It's really smooth. I just like because I'm not a big Scotch guy yet, but that bottle to me is really good, really smooth.
Yeah, I
We
really
enjoyed
liked
it a lot.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm actually going to pour it right now.
Yeah, I poured a little bit before we went live, and man, you got it's a sweetness on the nose. I mean, I'd forgotten how sweet it is. I mean, it's just it has a beautiful nose that you can sit there and spend all night with your nose in the glass.
Our first Glen Scotia official review
Yep.
of Glen Scotia.
Yep.
And it actually, we had a lot of praise before we got this bottle. We heard about it, and that's the reason we picked it up. And you know what? It didn't let us down.
And the thing is, it's a non-age statement bottle.
It is. That's an interesting segue for the
Wow,
next
that's
show.
crazy. Wow, be really cool to talk about.
It's
Also
like we
known as
You guys playing
NAS.
it's like we put this all together.
So Tamar would agree, and we were talking on a pre-show how he's got the Glen Scotia Victoriana and the Glen Scotia 18. He's like, the Victoriana is possibly better than the 18, and I'm assuming it's a lot less. But I haven't checked the prices on it.
Yeah, I don't know either, actually. Maybe you can comment. But real quickly, guys, I want to shout out to a good friend of ours, No Nonsense Whiskey, Vin, over in England. He sent us some new coins.
Yep.
Yep.
So if you haven't got them yet, go
Put
follow
ones
him,
up to the
subscribe to him. But these coins are really nice. I really like the colors.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
This clear one is
the clear is
amazing.
really
That's
cool.
really cool.
So,
Yeah, put that one up. to
And
the
then
camera,
his
too.
classic hand on the back.
yep.
And
Awesome.
Show them the clear coin.
And then the clear one, you'll be able to see, still be able to see Sean's face.
That's so cool.
Sorry, viewers.
Yes, and
That's pretty cool.
these make
No fixing that.
They make perfect hats for your whiskey glass if you want to keep the flavors in there and let them kind of meld up.
I believe we have a case coming to display all of our coins. We're gonna have to find a
We
home
do,
for it.
yeah.
Because
I'm
we
not
have a
sure where to put it.
stack, and there's so many cool whiskey tubers doing so many cool coins that
I mean, hell, we put up.
we've just
13,
got we've got a ton,
14
and we want to show them
clear,
off.
yeah.
So we're getting a case to put them up in. That'll be
It's
that'll
always
be
neat
awesome.
too to see different tweets or Instagrams or even on Discord people posting their collection. Like we had one today and it was like I think it was Sunday Evening Scotch. He posted it all over his floor. It's like, dude, you have a lot of coins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Here's
cool.
the difference between the 18 and the one you have.
So the Victoriana comes in at 89,
About $90.
and the 18 is 120.
No, interesting. Okay.
So
So
it's a little bit more expensive, but for the 18 than the Victoriana.
correct.
But to be
I'm
honest, I think
saying
that
the
this is a really reasonably priced, really nice glass. So, did you try it yet, Mike?
And so,
I'm still at Pickle Rick.
So Hoagie was. Is there a batch number on the box? So Hoagie was saying that they may be on their third batch of the Victoriana, but I can't see on this if there's any
Batch number.
indication. It is 51.5% ABV. I don't know if that matters if that changes between batches or if that is.
I don't see anything in the
Consistent.
batch.
I would think it would be on the bottle.
There is a lot number on the bottle, but I haven't deciphered it. So
Anyway, it's interesting. This is a non-age statement. What did we say the price was again? 89?
89.
90 bucks.
90
yeah.
bucks. So a lot of people, it's different with the tariffs and just buying scotches in general these days.
Yeah.
I would think if you would have asked me 4 years, I asked you 4 years ago, Mike, you started buying bottles back then as well. Like $80 for a non-age statement back then was, you'd be like, whoa, hey, hold on for a second. That's a lot of money
That's a lot of
for
money.
something that doesn't have age on it. But
Right.
things are different now. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself a little bit, but this is a bottle that's
It's more
kind of-
accepting
it's exactly
So,
right. It is more
before
accepting.
we get to the segue to that.
But it's a nice bottle. I think it's worth the price, but I still get that salted Tootsie Roll.
on the palate.
Uh-huh.
So one of the things to note is with our review, we gave it a 3.25 out of 4 finger pour. So what, 2 3s and a 3 3 5s. Essentially, that's saying it's a great bottle. It's worth the price. You should have it on your bar if it's available. Anybody you could share this with would be happy with it. I don't know anybody that would not enjoy this bottle, even if they're not necessarily Scotch people. If they're bourbon people, or
Right.
Eric, you can say that.
Yeah.
You can agree that it's nice to have.
Yeah.
Oh, Scotch
I
on the
agree.
Bayou. She's answering the question of the 51.5 is the older version, where
Ah.
the current batch is 54.2.
She should have a YouTube
That's a
channel by
decent-
now.
See,
That's
that's
a little bit of a
why.
That's a
jump.
decent increase.
That's
Yeah,
why I love
really.
our viewers, because they can do that research for us. A question will come up and
Wow, Tom got it for $65 on sale. That's a great deal. Now, if you can find it for that all day long.
all day long.
Well, and that's why we do this, because when you go into the liquor store, you're able to evaluate what you're looking at.
Yeah.
If that scotch is in the discount bin, is it worth picking up?
Yeah.
Is it a really good bottle that just nobody knows what it is?
Right.
Or is it kind of a crappy bottle that everybody knows what it is and they just don't want it? I mean,
totally
it could
true.
be either
Yeah.
or. And so I think that this is a really interesting bottle. I really like it.
Well,
I mean,
it was a
it's
good
enjoyable.
inspiration for the topic tonight. I think Andrew kind of thought about it too. 'Cause Tom's talking about right now. He got the Victoriana for 65, but the 15 is 65 as well. That's when you start having those conversations in your head a little bit, especially if you've not had them before, and go, wait a minute, I want to buy a 15-year-old bottle,
Yep.
or something that's at least 3 years.
Well, I know we picked this up based on some people that we trust that had this bottle
Right.
that really enjoyed it, including Scotch on the Bayou. I believe Sunday Evening Scotch had a bottle and really enjoyed it, and so we wanted to try it because there was a lot of
Right.
chatter about how good it was, and we haven't had a lot of Glen Scotias.
No.
In fact, this is our very first actual review of a Glen
Official
Scotia.
review, right.
We've had Glen Scotias before, but this was our first review of one. So I enjoy that we got in on an NAS expression from the distillery to just kind of see what their baseline is before you start, going north of $100. And it's a very enjoyable glass. I poured a dram. I'm just going
You need to
to
pour some.
keep setting it aside And no rush on the pickle, Rick. Take your time.
Well,
But I want to kind of examine it as it gets a chance to sit and air out a little bit, because we had some discussion about that as well. It is a little bit tight. It's a big whiskey, and it needs time to kind of open up and show you what it's got.
correct. Trooper Henry and Raymond Garcia both agree Scotch is expensive. So you're right. You know, if you're used to buying bourbons, you know, $90 for a bottle is like, wow, that's really expensive. And
For what?
What?
For what? Bourbon or Scotch?
For bourbon.
Not anymore.
Well,
No.
okay. So tell us what has the bourbon market done over the last
Not-
6 months?
6 months over the last about 2 years, it's
Yeah.
absolutely exploded. Where
You
Henry
can't find
McKenna
Right.
was a
a
20
bottom shelf.
$29.99 bottle. Now it's 45 to
yeah.
$60,
I
depending on
I
the
used to buy that by the
case.
case.
Yeah. It's
And now it's like an allocated item, and you have to beg for a
Right.
bottle. It's
Right.
like, really? I
But-
mean, it's good bourbon. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good
But
bourbons
that's
out there.
you know
but
that's just one, whether it has to do with Scotch or even bourbon. I think right now
brown
bourbon-
spirits in general.
Yeah,
All as I say.
You know,
Brown
Japanese
spirits
whiskeys
are
are hard to come by.
are.
It's all hard to come by.
all these great people that watch this, listen to this. You know, there's a lot more. I don't know. Is there a lot more people getting into actually being educated more about whiskey than there was 10 years ago?
I think to some extent, but I
It
get a
went
lot
through
of
the
people.
vodka and rum stage, so people didn't really look
I
at
think it's a
whiskey
movement.
as much.
It is.
It's just a thing that people are doing. You
Yeah.
know?
It's a generational thing, and it's
Kind of like if you're into microbrews, and like it's just one of those things that people have kind of gone into as a hobby.
I honestly think that part of the push for it was the craft cocktail boom and getting back into some of the like really high end craft cocktails, because cocktails, to be fair, like when we all went to college, there was no craft involved, right?
No.
Like it was some stuff dumped together.
Right.
How cheap is it? No, I don't care.
your whiskey sour, your
Right.
old fashioned.
Is that coming out of a maybe lined garbage pail?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
$55
maybe line.
Maybe
Right.
lined.
for
dip
years.
dip my
Rinse
cup
that
in there.
bucket out?
I don't even care.
For years, you know, whiskey sour
Yeah.
was cheap whiskey and sour mix, and
Yeah.
that was it on ice. You know, I made whiskey sours the other day with egg whites and fresh squeezed lemon juice.
Of course you
and,
did.
You know, and you've got to shake it 3 different
Surprise.
ways and put ice in a couple of different times to get it
You're
to
ruining
foam
the
right.
whiskey sour.
But I mean, it's a
You can't pour under 2 feet.
It's not
well,
called a whiskey sour anymore. It's
but
Yeah.
something else.
but that's how they
Gourmet
used to
whiskey.
make it.
That was a craft.
So when when it was invented, that's how it was made. And then they got away from that and shortcutted it down to here's some sour
How
mix
fat-
in a bag in a box that you're going to just spritz in there, and it's not the same drink. So as people got more and more accustomed to, it's $8, $9, $10, $15 for this cocktail, but it's a really good drink. And then they started asking, well, what's in it? And now you've got an educated consumer that wants to purchase higher end whiskeys or whatever is in there because they understand the value in it.
Yeah.
And so I think that drives them to things like this where
Higher
they're
end whiskeys.
purchasing better things for their home bar, things that you can't get. You're not going to see Glen Scotia Victoriana on
no.
99.9% of the whiskey menus around the country.
Hell no.
But you know, you can find this in a liquor store.
Well, interestingly, around here too. Like I was
Yeah.
surprised to find it. They had it at 2 stores, so it's obviously it's making its rounds.
Yes.
Yep.
There's a big enough volume of it.
So I think that this is definitely a bottle worth, you know, I mean, if you bump it into it on a liquor store shelf and it's 70, 80, maybe $90, it's probably worth picking up.
Pick it up.
And
Yeah.
people are going to do the same thing you guys did. Somebody that you trust is suggesting it, and try it out.
And
you know?
it's an interesting flavor profile. I mean, it's not quite like
What do you ask your question? So, and I'll ask you guys. So, when you go to a liquor store and you're looking at a bottle you've not heard yet or not seen before or had before, etc., and like, what is this bottle? Do you start researching right then as far as YouTube or researching people, or do you just take a chance and be like, I know that distillery, I'm just gonna grab it and buy it?
I've probably done both. Because you know I watch you guys. I watch quite a few other people.
I would probably do less research and just buy it and try it
Okay.
from a name.
But
brand.
you're probably in a budget perspective too, right? or no?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I hadn't heard of it, I'm not gonna, you know.
Spend $100 on
Right.
something.
Yeah,
Right.
that's tough. $100 is not something you want to do
No.
every
Well,
day.
and that's why we got together. Because to be honest, $100 for one of us to throw down for a bottle,
Right.
probably weren't going to do it. But if we're throwing in money every week because we're coming over to try scotches, then it becomes a little bit more
Yeah,
of
then it's
an
$25 that
accessibility.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably, if a bottle was around $60, unknown by me, I'd probably pull the trigger just.
Yeah.
That'd probably be my limit is 60.
So Michael
Yeah.
says he pulls his phone out and does some digging. I do the same thing. I've gone to a couple and I've researched a few things if I didn't know. Like, who is this? Like, that one right there, that I think it was Berry Brothers, that Brora. I was like, what is
Blur
this? Yeah, or Blur Alpha, yeah. And I was like, Brora. You said Brora earlier. I was like, Brora.
Mm-hmm.
Blur Alpha. And I was like, what is this? And
I was very
researched
excited
a little
for a
bit.
second.
Wait, what?
Where's
What
that
bottles
at?
do we?
What are you talking about, Drew? I'm like, nothing.
Nothing's in the glass.
Nothing.
Well, and I tend to
This
do
is not the whiskey you're
research
looking for.
because Glenn's. So the Victoriana, it's not my wheelhouse whiskey. It's not peated. It's not real rich in flavor, but it's a good bottle. And so I probably would shy away from this because I don't think their stuff is very peated. And I tend to, if I buy a bottle that I don't know that maybe it's a sherry or I tend to get disappointed because I like that rich flavor. So if I'm going to drop $100 on a bottle, I want something with like rich flavor and something that's like fantastic. And I would be probably disappointed. But the beauty of having a whiskey group is, you can put a few bucks in and everybody gets it. And
It helps.
if three-quarters of the people like it, great. I wouldn't take it to your bar. I enjoy the flavor. I learn from it. I do all that. But it's not something I would normally drink. So, perfect.
Like for me, I don't buy bourbons. So if I would go buy a bourbon, I would personally look up someone I knew and be like, okay, I don't know anything about this. What do they do? How much is this going to cost me? Is it worth the price? What's funny?
Michael, who is also a Rick and Morty fan, is very excited about the Pickle Rick bottle. But we have a lot of people commenting that they ended up with too many bottles on their shelf because of us and the reviews that they looked at while they were at the liquor store. Which,
yeah, that's true.
I can tell you guys that is probably the highest praise we get.
It is.
Because the whole reason we started it was because we were confused going to the liquor store. And so the fact that
5
we're
years
helping
later.
you guys out and you're finding cool bottles because you're watching us and we're recommending stuff that we enjoy, like that's a really cool thing for us.
It kind
honestly.
of goes with what I was kind of saying earlier is the fact that I think more people are doing that research, and so I think
think
more
you're right.
bottles are being purchased because there's more research available,
Well,
Yeah,
and it's
readily available
it's
Right.
yeah.
for these Glen Scotias or
To me, the advent of
others.
blogs and YouTube channels has let common people who don't have any training and don't have any real skin in the game let their opinions be heard about what's good, what's not good, what they like and don't
Right.
like. And people follow those people that have similar palates, and it lets them explore things that they may not know with a little bit more confidence because somebody that they trust enjoyed that bottle.
And
So
let's
I
be
think that's
honest,
good.
there's a plethora of people out there now doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, when we
Lots
started
of
doing
people.
it 5 years ago, there was a handful,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
Now
everybody's doing
there's
it
a
because
ton of
technology's easier. So I mean,
Yeah.
just like websites and stuff are easier to spin up. So there's a lot of information out there, not just for Scotch, for bourbons, for any kind of
Yep.
rums, tequila,
Cocktails,
woodworking.
whatever.
I mean,
Yeah,
YouTube
everything.
alone has become the go-to
yeah.
for how do I change a bike tire? Let's go to YouTube and
Right.
find out. I mean, it's just
Yep.
people are going to the internet to find out things.
Tom R says, don't forget podcasts.
And
Indeed.
podcast. Thank you for listening, folks. We appreciate you guys every
Yes.
single week. Thank you very much.
So, Glen Scotia, the Victoriana, I think we all enjoyed it. If you see a bottle, pick it up, see what we got. So, our main topic for the evening is the NAS whiskey. All right?
What does NAS mean?
So, non-age statement whiskeys. So, most Scotch in general tried to train up at least the American market to appreciate the age statement and to associate it with a more valuable whiskey, right? So if you were buying bottom shelf stuff, if you were buying a bottle of Cutty Sark or whatever, that just it's a blended
bottle
whiskey,
or a handle?
that was associated with lesser quality maybe, and so they slowly train people up that if you see a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, the 12-year-old's better and it's worth more money.
Yes.
And it's a marketing tool,
It
right?
is.
There's you know, I mean, we've all had 12-year-old whiskeys that were just as good as 15 or 18-year-old whiskeys, or maybe better at half or a third of the price. So, you know, it's a marketing tool for the distillery. Obviously, they incur more costs the longer that it ages. But as the brown liquor craze heated up over the past few years, which we've all been experiencing in not being able to find our favorite whiskeys anymore, or if you do find them, they're 3, 4, 5 times more than what they were, or you have to put your name into a, you know, some sort of lottery to get a hold of one.
Wait 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous out in the rain, and, you know, then they don't call your name and they give it to somebody that, you know, bought more booze than you, whatever. Anyway.
Sounds like a
So as that
right.
as that all ramped up, and, you know, I mean, it's bars too. I mean, we need something to put on the shelf, and if the 12-year-old or the 15-year-old is a little too expensive, if you can get me something that's a little cheaper, I can run through a lot more of it. And so what happens is the distilleries go back and they say, well, you know, I don't really have stock of 12-year-old whiskey. We weren't expecting this 12 years ago.
Yep.
But what I do have is a lot of 3-year-old whiskey.
So let's talk about what is the definition of NAS?
So it can be any age. So you get some whiskeys that are NAS that are composed of older stuff, you know, and have really good profiles. And then you get some that is obviously just slapped together to put a bottle on the shelf.
Yeah. So
And does the bottler know the age of it, and they just don't put
they
it on
don't.
there?
They don't. publish it, yeah.
There's a legal so for
So
Scotch.
for Scotch, Scotch has to be aged no less than 3 years.
Correct.
Right.
So that's one thing. If it's a Scotch whiskey, it's got to be aged no less than 3 years. But so if it's an aged whiskey, though, everything in that bottle must be at least that year, 12 years old. You know, so it's a 12-year-old whiskey. It's got to be at least 12 years old or older.
Okay.
So they can put an 18, they can put a 25-year-old barrel in there, but the minimum
But everything
age
has to be.
At
is
least
that.
the 12.
So with a non-aged, though, the minimum is 3, but you may have some 25, you may have some 30-year-old, you may have some 15-year-old in there to blend it, and that, in my opinion, is a genius move.
It is.
Because, you know, when you work through aging whiskey, the barrel influence, you know, probably, especially if they're new first fill barrels, is going to be most impactful if they're small or in the first few years of aging. So you get a big surge of quality of improvement of the new make in those first 3 to 5 years, but you get some richness and depth and power that comes in those 25. So if I'm selling 25-year-old whiskey for $500 a bottle, or I can put one barrel of that 25-year-old in with this non-age statement and make a really nice blend, because you pull out that rich power out of that old barrel, put it in with 100 barrels of 3-year-old, and you get a fairly nice whiskey that you can sell for $90 a bottle. You're making bank, because those 3-year-old bottles are not 30-year-old barrels are not worth anywhere near that 25, but you can sell it for a third of the price, and a 25-year-old barrel just boosted its value.
So I think that all the NAS whiskeys that we have tried, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but they fall into 2 categories. You have the NAS whiskeys where you have the master distiller that really wants to do something nice. And there are distilleries out there that really want to put out a quality product. They don't
Victoriana
want to
or
put their
something like
name
that.
on a crappy bottle. And then you get some that are just like, you know what, they're going to buy it anyway. You know, so let's just go ahead and shovel this out the door. Is it crappy whiskey? Sure, but somebody's going to buy it. And eventually they're maybe going to make their way up the market line, you know, because this bottle was only $25. Maybe they'll make it up to a $40 or $50 bottle down the road, and they'll start to appreciate nicer whiskey.
Yep.
Do I have a problem with the cheap crap? Yeah, because I think it turns off people that might appreciate Scotch down the road or whiskey down the road. And I think that it turns them off from that, because, you know, I don't know how many people I talk to, and I'm sure you guys are the same, where you talk to somebody and you're like, oh, I love Scotch. And they're like, oh, that stuff's horrible. You know, I tried my dad's bottle of, you know, whatever back in the day, and it was just bad, right? And I mean, it's a question of, what did your dad have on his
Wrong
bar,
foot forward.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. You know, I mean, not everybody has a good whiskey selection in their house. And so if they just have a
Most
bottle
people
of
don't
crap,
have a good whiskey
One,
Right.
Or they just don't. They're inexperienced.
not
They don't know
educated.
where. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
They don't know. I mean, yeah, if you see Scotch, you have a Cuddy Sark or a Dewar's White or a Johnny Red on because they're easily accessible, they're affordable. You taste it, like this is Scotch.
Right.
I'm not sure that's great.
So I think that American Scotch Doctor has a great question. Not to ask the same question twice, but what justifies not putting an age statement on a bottle? The not justifying it, I think, comes with the fact that maybe you're blending together a lot of different whiskeys from a lot of different ages.
That's the key.
And so you've got a fair amount of younger whiskey, so maybe 5-year, 7-year whiskey.
Or even 10%
Yeah.
of 3-year just to bulk up the batch.
But then you've
just to get
got,
more
you know,
bottles
maybe
out.
a couple of barrels of 18 and a couple of barrels of 25. And so you're rounding out the whiskey with some of that older stuff, adding depth and complexity to some of the really good backbone of that younger whiskey. And so you've got this like deep breadth of ages in the bottle. And I think at that point, the age statement really doesn't apply.
Yes,
I mean,
that's
and
correct.
I'm sure that there's aged bottles that it doesn't really apply to, but you know, if I'm a distiller, I'm not trying to dump 25-year-old whiskey into a 15-year-old bottle,
No.
right? I mean, you may have to occasionally because you just, you know, depending on what's going on or how those barrels turned out. But I would think for the most part, if it's a 15-year-old bottle, for the most part, you're talking 15, 16, maybe 17-year-old whiskey
Yeah.
going in there. They're going to try and keep it as close as they can. Whereas to me, when you get an NAS, it really lets the master distiller and the blender kind of come together and make something special. And I think that there are NAS whiskeys that we've tried that are very special.
Absolutely.
I mean, our first 4-finger pour whiskey was
You're right.
the King Alexander, and that's an
What
NAS
is that?
whiskey.
That's an NAS.
It's a
So-
non-age statement whiskey at $200 a bottle,
And it's
and deserves every bit of it.
and it's excellent, you know. So I think that there's a lot of NAS whiskeys out there that deserve some ridicule and some scorn because they're putting out a bad product. But I think there's a lot of NAS whiskeys that don't deserve that are putting out really quality whiskey, that are trying to do a good job, that are trying to fill a gap in the market because of the demand for whiskey, and they've got to put something out, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think filling that gap is the key, and plus it gives a master blender full range of options. So I've got a 3-year-old whiskey that is in a 4th fill bourbon cask. So it's basically neutral spirit, a little bit aging. I can put that in a Bordeaux cask, get that rich Bordeaux flavor, put it in, finish it for 2 months in a Bordeaux cask, put it into my blend. Fantastic flavor component in that blend. But now I got to age it as a 3-year-old whiskey, and nobody's going to buy that, a 3-year-old whiskey. But because they've taken the time and put it in a different cask, paid extra for that Bordeaux cask, and gotten that flavor component and put it into that blend, it makes a really nice balanced blend. But you're not going to put a 3-year because nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to pay more than $15 for a 3-year-old whiskey.
I don't
That's
know.
why
I would.
If it's labeled that way.
Well, see that
Right.
exactly. If it's labeled a 3-year-old, that's why an NAS gives you the ability to work with that,
Yeah.
use young whiskey, and do some things with the barrels and different flavor components and all that kind of stuff to make a much better whiskey.
To be truly transparent, we did pay like over $100 for a 3-year-old whiskey. The one from SMWS that was
SMWS.
the Lowland.
Little Mill.
Yeah.
Yeah, Little Mill.
So
That was the first whiskey they'd produced.
and it was
In fact,
great.
It actually was. It was young and bright, and it felt young, but it was the first whiskey from that distillery, even before the distillery release bottle.
But I would call that a one-off. How about that?
That was one-off.
So I think that there's a lot to be said for NAS whiskeys.
Yeah.
Mike, have you had any that you really enjoyed?
For NAS whiskeys?
Yeah.
Either bourbons or scotches or whatever else.
That's a good question.
I mean, I can ramble on for a while while you think about it. Mark's not here tonight, so I'm doing the double duty of just
Yes,
talking
you are.
continuously.
This is fine.
And I mean, I can fill that shoe.
You're okay talking.
So, question, Eric, do you remember whiskeys by their age or just by the brand, essentially, when you go through whiskeys? So what is
I
your
would say probably the brand.
okay? So what is your whiskey kind of profile? What's your experience been with whiskeys?
You mean what do I what do I like?
What do you like, and what what don't you like? Kind of what's that flavor profile for you?
I like kind of a sweet, caramely.
Like a bourbon or
More
okay.
bourbon, yeah.
So that's where you drink more bourbons.
Yeah, I do drink more bourbon.
And so you buy predominantly by brand, so because you know and trust that
Yes.
what the material they're putting out, and
Yes.
you do that. And so the age doesn't really.
But I do
reflect.
look for I look for age.
Oh
If
really?
I-
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you do look for age.
Well, yeah, I tend to kind of go both. If I'm there to buy something quick, maybe it's just brand. But if I'm
Yeah.
maybe wanting to try something new, I would tend to probably look at age.
Okay.
I think.
Because I know one of my wife's favorite whiskeys is Wild Turkey 101. Definitely not an age statement. You get, I mean, it is you buy the big bottles because it's affordable
That's
and
a
you drink it,
fantastic
and it's a
bourbon,
great
too.
whiskey. And,
Yeah.
but it's not. I mean, it's a heavy rye.
Here, discuss that amongst yourselves.
So NAS is, I mean, honestly, let's talk about the other side, flip the coin
Okay.
a little bit. Let's talk about the other reason why they're doing. Obviously, they're doing it because, well, hell, like, oh my gosh, we can't keep up with
Yeah.
demand. We got to put something out there to keep making money, right? I mean, and so they're getting tricky. It's marketing as well, and they're doing certain things that maybe they're like, hey, let's keep this as a business opportunity. We've got X number of casks back here that are probably 4 years old right now. Let's
Yeah.
put those in something. Let's throw in, like you said earlier, let's throw in that 15, and make a Solera batch out of it, something
Yeah.
like that, to keep it something going. And they're being creative about it. So doesn't mean it's bad. It's just something different. So there's a different side of the house too. You don't know what you're getting. Sometimes you get winners.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't.
Yep.
But it is what it is. It's keeping the lights on in the business right now because you can't rush time.
Well, and I also
Yeah.
think that it allows the distillery
True.
to be a little more nimble than they were in the past.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, if your business model was always sell some to the blenders and put out a 12-year-old whiskey, and that was your steady go-to, this is what I'm going to do, and you get to a boom cycle and you can't keep up, so you add a couple of stills, you take out some loans, and then you get to that bust cycle and nobody's buying your 12-year-old whiskey.
Yeah.
And so now you have a problem. Whereas now this allows you to not add distilling capacity, but utilize some of that younger whiskey to ride you through that boom, so that when you hit that bust, you've made money and you haven't taken out a bunch of loans. You're not underwater. It allows you to be more efficient with the product that you have on hand.
Yeah. The problem we run into then is in 5 years from now we don't have any 12-year-old whiskey because we just sold it 5 years ago when the boom was going.
True. But that also allows them some time to increase capacity while, for the
That's
future,
true,
for the
yeah.
long haul, while you're still increasing capacity currently. I mean, so for instance, not a Scotch one, but tequila. There was a tequila boom several years ago, and agave takes a long time to grow.
It does, yeah.
It's a very slow growing plant, and you can't just throw some seeds on the ground and then harvest it in 6 months, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's true. It
it's a
takes
years long process. And so when they had that boom, there just really wasn't much they could do about it. And I mean, you're not going to capitalize on the fact that people are like, well, good tequila is really good. Like, we should drink some more of it. Well, there's only so much, And so
Yeah,
whiskey's
that's
kind of the
true.
same way.
Whiskey got a better.
But I think that the
capability.
NAS, I mean, we've seen more and more as we've been doing this over the past 5 years, where when we first started, people were very disparaging about NAS whiskeys.
Yes,
They were very like, oh my God, you don't want that. Go get the 12-year, the 18-year.
Oh, we got
It's
beat
so
up for
much
a while.
better,
We got beat up all the time.
And now, NAS whiskeys are, I'm drinking the Ugadale right now, the Ardbeg Ugadale. That's an NAS whiskey. Nobody complains about that.
No one's
whiskey.
gonna say anything bad about
Nobody
that.
says a word about it. And it's a really good whiskey. There's nothing wrong with it. So I think that they're starting to shift the market.
Yes.
And so people are still focused
Becoming
on...
normalized.
Yeah, they're focused on the age statement still a little bit, but it's not so prevalent that people are going to discount that bottle.
Is that fantastic bottle in NAS?
Which one?
The Tamdu batch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The batch series.
I mean, honestly, we have a bunch of NAS bottles sitting on the bar that are absolutely exquisite.
Yeah.
So, I would encourage everybody, the viewers, the listeners on the podcast, don't discount a bottle necessarily because it's an NAS.
Because there's not a number on it.
Yeah, because there's some really good bottles. Now, also don't necessarily assume that it's going to be an okay bottle. don't judge the distillery by the NAS, because if they're putting out some crap, you might end up with a crappy glass. I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, so I would recommend if it's a non-age, you need to do some research before you buy it.
Yeah.
If
Even a little bit.
if it's an age statement, maybe there's less risk, but the non-age, you've got to be.
You're
At least
welcome.
look up the brand.
Yeah.
See if there's any reviews of other.
Maybe go to the Scotch for Dummies website. See if we've
There you go.
drank a glass of
That's a
that and
good
put a
idea.
review up.
If we reviewed it, it's on the website, so you can just pull it up, and there's a whole table. You can do it real quick. You don't have to take
Great for your mobile phone.
mobile optimized.
Responsive. Is the correct-
So, I would like to see Dr. Scotch. I have some questions
You do?
for Dr. Scotch tonight. And we have a special new intro for Dr. Scotch.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go see if I can find him. He may not be ready.
I bet he is.
I gotta do a quick switch here, make sure the audio's working. So here we go. And we're back.
Hey, all!
There he is.
Dr. Scotch
Look
here.
who's here.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on YouTube. Just so you know.
Yeah, you do.
So I heard today that you guys were going to talk about non-age statement whiskeys.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, one thing about having non-age statement whiskey is that sometimes, you like this kind of brown color in your whiskey. Well, if you're putting 3-year-old whiskey in there, probably not going to have that color.
Why is that?
Well,
weird.
because there's no barrel influence.
I
in
thought
it.
you just, you put whiskey in a barrel and poof, it's like dark and.
If it's a second, third, fourth refill, there's almost no color. So what
do you do about that?
You add a colorant. So tonight we're going to talk about E150. Now,
That just doesn't sound healthy.
Yeah.
so the thing is,
Doesn't sound healthy.
it is arguably
Causes cancer in
not
California.
unhealthy. So E150 is basically a caramel coloring where they take sugar and they kind of cook it until it becomes different levels of brown. All the way from yellow to red to black.
Are
So
you wanting to show this?
here's an image.
Give me a second.
Yeah, so there are multiple. I've got a couple of graphics for today. I don't have the whiteboard today because I don't have enough colors on my whiteboard marker list to be able to do it.
Is that picture up right now?
No,
No.
Yeah, it will
so
be.
so there are multiple
Hopefully.
colors that will that you can get from E150. Now, there are also multiple layers of E150. There's E150A, B, C, and D.
Now it's up.
And so what's on the TV right now?
That looks
is,
like you're
is it-
really hydrated.
Yeah, I was
and
gonna say.
You're not hydrated
Yes.
at all.
So what you got is it's
It's
essentially
on
a
my podcast, by the way. So.
Yeah, so what we're showing on the screen is essentially a color wheel of E150. And it's basically the level of tincture powder and coloring and imaging that goes into it. And there's another graphic that's probably a little bit better for this, but you can have E150 coloring all the way from essentially well hydrated all the way to black. I mean, essentially
Here's
really
another color.
dark. So the other graphic we're showing now goes through, and actually the EU has classified different color levels and different products to give you can put in. You've used E150A with this concentration, you get a color intensity of 44. But if you use E1C, that is Dow product number 385, you get a different color intensity. So, but the key with this is predominantly the colorant used in Scotch whiskey is E150A, and that is designed specifically for high proof alcohols and somewhat acidic environments and materials that use a lot of sucrose. But the reason you'd use an E150B or C or D would be they can be a food additive for brownies or beer or cookies or whatever you want. And so basically, if it's basic, a lot of ammonia and stuff in your cooking, you'd use a E150B because it's designed for basic. But there are other colorants that are more color fast based on what you're doing with it and what the environment of the chemistry of the food is. The beauty of E150A is it is probably the most color fast of all the colorants. So it will stand up to light better. E150B and C, if you put it up to light, the color just fades out completely, and so it just dies. So that's why it's typically not used in whiskeys, especially if it's in a clear glass bottle. So you would put an E150A in there, and depending on what color you wanted your whiskey would depend on what level or concentration or even color component of the E150A that you purchase is. So you can do anything with this. So I know one thing that's probably the best way to find out if your whiskey's using colorant is you go to the German version of that bottle.
And we found this on our pre-show today.
Yeah, so we
find somebody who speaks German, Hoagie.
Well, so it's funny because I was looking this up and I'm cheating here because I do have some websites pulled up that I was looking at, and I probably will not be able to get to this. But there is a way to tell on a German bottle if it says mit Farbstoff, so with colorant essentially. That means that they've added E150 or they've added a colorant to the whiskey.
So you're telling me these distillers
Yes.
have to confess to go to like German.
In Germany and Denmark, you're required to list if you put colorant in it. So
Interesting.
that's how
So you
we
can
find
cheat.
out that Lagavulin 16, which I love, one of my best whiskeys, at least the standard, one of Andrew's favorite whiskeys, is colored. And Lefroy 10 is colored because it's got, if you go to the German label, it has mint bar stuff on it, and it tells you that there's some coloration added. So that's the best way to tell. Now, 99% of the people you talk to will say it doesn't change the flavor. All it does is change the color. It's used in such fine quantities.
I have a
Did
point.
you really raise your hand?
I have a point. Can I talk for a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask a question. So are you telling me that there's no flavor in it?
That's correct.
I was gonna ask the same thing.
That's complete BS. I was actually over in Europe, and in Scotland actually, and I was sitting in the bar, and we were talking about this exact topic, and we had a bartender that's part of some society as well over there, does all kinds of different things. Anyway, he was challenging us. He said he asked the same question. Because we were saying, we were like, oh, it just add colors, there's no taste to it, because we had this discussion before in the past. And he goes, I'll tell you what, I'm going to pour 2 glasses for you. One glass is going to be water, one glass is going to be E150 in it. And he blindfolded us so we couldn't see what it was. And we tasted it. There was no doubt in my mind which one was E150.
Correct. And I remember that video. And he put a lot of E150.
Now to your defense, we're talking volume and chemistry here that's beyond me. But in that instance, you're probably right. He probably loaded it up.
So
it was definitely like a syrupy taste.
It can take 10 drops of E150 to color an entire barrel. They got probably 10 drops in a small glass of water. Plus the other thing you have is typically the caramel color solutions that you're talking about are based with, they have a spirit base. So they've got some alcohol in it to help it blend in and mix more efficiently with the spirit. So you're tasting the spirit, you're tasting and admittedly the caramel color is only a sugar thing. Well, you know what you do when you toast a barrel? You create sugar.
Yeah.
So that's the
So
point.
realistically, the taste challenge that was given to them in the bar shouldn't have been water. It should have been like vodka.
Exactly.
Like
that
a
would've been
neutral
better-
spirit would have been a
that would've been-
better
That would have been more fair.
a better
Yeah.
flavor challenge because you're not just tasting the color, you're tasting the alcohol.
I would love to experiment in this in the future. Can we order some E150 and have a show on this?
Yeah, I mean it's very rarely available ever.
We should do it. It'd be
Okay.
fun. And it'd be kind of cool to go through. I know you podcast, you can't see it,
I know
but
what you mean.
the picture we showed a minute ago showed basically, almost very light yellow to very dark.
Very
so,
dark, like-
so you
like
can definitely get
almost
different
black.
shades. You're right.
Yeah, like Guinness beer probably
Yeah,
has E150
first
in it
time
to give it
comment.
that really dark comment.
So you said
Good call.
it is cooked sugar.
It is. It's caramel coloring. So they take the
So you
sugar.
would think you would taste that.
Well, but it's such low quantity though,
Okay.
and it's extracted, and it's not
Sure.
just simple sugar. I mean, it's cooked and distilled and extracted
Right.
and all that kind of stuff in the syrup to get the color out.
So I have a question. So are they doing tests? I mean, obviously it's some kind of quality control, right?
Sure.
So are they doing some kind of refractory test to figure out what color exactly that whiskey is, and then balancing out the E150 to make it that standard color?
That would be my expectation because the E150 you buy. There's some good questions here.
Yeah, you can buy it. And,
Yeah,
so
so-
we'll get some.
So the E150, you can get different colors of it, so different wavelengths of light that it absorbs and things like that. And so there's some comments coming in that I don't.
Lots of comments coming in, guys. Sorry, we're trying to get to them. So, Doctor, why don't you talk about that one?
What?
Even if it doesn't change the flavor, why be deceptive with the color?
Sometimes it's deception and sometimes it's consistency. So remember, these guys are taking individual 55-gallon barrels and dumping into a big vat. And you don't always know what color is going to come out of that vat, come out of the barrel. And so if you want to produce a colorless bottle, or you put your product in a clear bottle, and you want your consumer to see the same color every time they buy that bottle, you add colorant to get it consistent. So it may be like you add just enough color to get it to the hue that you want to be consistent with, that you know that you can consistently produce. Sometimes they may not be, sometimes there will be.
And they're doing this at the barrel. They're not doing it at the bottle. So
No, they're doing it at the vat stage.
Oh,
So they're
even
dumping
bigger
the
than a barrel.
dump.
Yeah, so they dump
Dumping
all
the
the barrels.
barrels,
They dump
right.
all the barrels. They take a sample. Is it the right color? No. Let's add some color
makes
to
sense.
it. All right, now we're ready to bottle.
Well,
So it's done at that stage.
and I think
after
I can-
dilution and everything.
So my barbecue restaurant, we're bottling our own barbecue sauce
Mm-hmm.
now, and so that process of ramping up. If I make a barbecue sauce at home, we're talking cups worth,
Yes.
right? And so that recipe is very different. So when I ramp up a recipe that I enjoy at home to a restaurant level, so I'm cooking for 100 people now, that recipe changes. It's not the same recipe that I use at home because I'm using different products. I'm using industrial grade products at that point.
Yes.
I'm not using stuff you can buy in the store. And so the things that I'm using and the techniques that I'm using are different in a restaurant than they are when I come home to cook. Ramping that recipe up to making 500 gallons of barbecue sauce is a whole different process. And so there are things that come into play to make that product consistent, because you're talking about making, I'm going to make 500 gallons and I'm going to put those in industrial containers. I'm going to put them in bottles for the store, and then a month from now I've got to make another 500 gallons.
Exactly.
And it has to be exactly the same.
same.
Because the consumer expects it to be exactly the same. They want
When
the
this
same
bottle
color.
runs out, I want to go get the
Right.
same
And
flavor.
you guys are all the same on this channel. You talk about the variations in the bottles. It's a different batch.
Yeah.
It's got a different color. It's got slightly different flavor. And so when you're making Glenfiddich 15, you want that bottle to be consistent no matter where you buy it, no matter when you buy it.
Correct.
And so you are using industrial processes to make sure that the consistency of that bottle remains the same.
Correct. And there was some comments coming through. You're right. It is also because I want it to look dark in my glass, and that is what people like. That's like, oh, look how dark this whiskey is. It must be great and fantastic. So you're right. So to a novice consumer, that can be an influence that I want to see dark whiskey in my glass. So that is perfectly as well. But to your point with coloration for the consumer market, has anybody had a bottle of like Sriracha or some other hot sauce that
Sure.
sat on your shelf
Sure.
and turned gray?
No.
Not great.
No. I was
never
with you
lasts
for a
that
second,
long.
but no.
Really?
No.
No.
So if you've ever had a bottle of Sriracha on your counter, it turns color as it
That
ages.
just means you're not drinking or
Eating it.
sriracha.
True,
Yeah.
but it does change, and that may be a breakdown of whatever either natural or artificial
Really?
colors are in there. Now, it doesn't necessarily change the flavor. It just means the color is breaking down. So you add color, a consistent color. U150A is really color fast. You don't want your barbecue sauce turning gray on the shelf.
Not so much.
It's in a clear glass bottle. It's all natural components. UV light breaks down natural coloring. You're going to lose that color if you're not careful. So that's what I'm saying.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to
And
know.
we've all looked at those bottles. Says no added
Absolutely.
color, no.
Yes. Now, a lot of whiskeys will do
So,
that.
yeah.
And
Right.
actually, that is a selling point. It's
That is.
non-chill filtered, no
Yeah.
color added.
Exactly.
And that because they want you to know that color is all from the barrel. And you can tell if it's a nice, deep, rich color and they don't say no color added,
What was the other one?
probably color added. So, not a big thing. It doesn't taste the flavor too much. It will affect it may affect the way you look at your whiskey because it's dark, rich color. But ultimately, that's why blind challenges are important. And some people will use like black glass to do a real blind challenge Because then when you're
can't-
focusing only on the
right,
flavor and the
right.
nose, the color has no impact.
Totally. But how many times have we done blind reviews if we looked at the color? And it doesn't technically make an impact, but it does.
It does
mentally.
psychologically.
Well, it's a mental thing. I mean, it really is. I mean, you eat with your eyes
You
first.
sure do.
And so if you are looking at darker whiskey, you're automatically thinking it's deeper, richer, more full-bodied, rather than. And I mean, I've been surprised by some really light whiskeys that we've poured that I was like,
Wow.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That Bien Riach that's up on the shelf is very
Yes.
light,
Oh, it
and
is.
it's a punch in the face.
It is.
So I think that, sometimes the color can be misleading, but I think a lot of times there's a lot of distillers that are utilizing it to make a consistent product. They're not trying to be deceptive. They're just trying to make the
are.
whiskey.
Some are.
Well, some
yeah.
are, but I mean, if you've
It's
got,
to be consistent.
if you are the master blender at Glenfiddich, you have a very expensive product that you are trying to shepherd through and make sure that you're putting out a consistent product to all of the people that really enjoy your
Well
product.
said.
Across the world,
Yep.
thousands of cases of this stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome, Dr. Scotch.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, man.
Well, I hope it
Thank
worked
you.
out. Talk to you guys later.
Oh, we're back.
Hey, guys.
Guys.
Was Dr. Scotch here?
He was
He
here.
was.
Yeah.
He was here.
Darn, I miss
You
him
miss
every
him?
time.
He left, but
Every
Molly
time.
showed up.
Hey,
Yeah,
Molly.
it did. Hey, make sure you guys, by the way, the raffle is going on right now for a Craig Alecky 23-year-old from Whiskey Mystery. So hopefully we've got some tickets. We've got a few minutes left.
I'll
but
tell you what, we got a lot of people that I'm like, who's that name?
So Mark
That's
McKenzie,
exciting.
Dalmore is pretty clear that they put coloration in their whiskey. So you're right, they put a lot in, but yeah, they make some good whiskey too.
Absolutely.
If they'd only bottle it higher ABV.
Yeah. I mean, if you've ever had a high ABV Dalmore, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's ridiculously good. Anyway, are we ready to do this raffle?
We got 24 seconds and 20 people, so make sure you hit pound or exclamation point raffle right now in chat if you would like to get a chance to win. We're going to do this 2 more times, so back to back. So we got 3
Yeah,
raffles to
get
go.
on there.
So,
Exclamation point raffle.
so going back to our original point, Mike, about the non-age statement stuff. You've had a chance now to try this Victoriana. What do you think about that?
I like it. It's typically not my. I always look for. A lot of people know. You guys know that I look for like a lot of fruit, red fruits, and citrus
I know, Molly.
in my scotches, and that's what I really enjoy. I'm not. So it's there. It's almost there, but not quite there. So.
Oh, we got a super chat, boys.
Oh.
Super chat from
But can you see what I'm saying?
I absolutely see what you're saying.
Bobby
Yeah.
J.
That's my.
But you
as
like
it
it.
said. Yes, I do.
All right, let's get the super chat. You can continue.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bobby.
Thank
Bobby.
you, Bobby. Appreciate that. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
But it's got you have to admit they've done a good job of what it is. Hold on, let me throw up the quick Molly cam because she's sitting right there and we
Sit.
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 I think we might miss her head here just for a second.
Oh, she
Oh,
really wants a
She
pretzel.
wants a pretzel really bad. Really
You see the
bad.
tail.
All right, let's see who has won the first prize, and we're gonna run it right back again and do 2 more times. So
So we got 3 of these samples to
we
give
got
away?
3 samples to give away.
Wow. Hey, while we're doing this raffle, I want to talk real
Oh, wow,
quick
we're
about our Scotch in the News.
I'm gonna pick a winner right now, real quick.
Do it.
Yeah, Dr. Scott ran along. Sorry.
Pickle
Mark JG is the winner.
Yeah.
Make sure you email us at scotchfordummies@gmail.com your information, and we'll pass it on to Phil.
There we go.
I'm gonna run it back.
All right.
There's one.
Now we got another
Run
one,
it
right?
again.
Yep. And I'm gonna start it off right now.
So it's a
All right.
5-minute timer.
5-minute
time.
timer, and you guys have to put
Roll with it.
exclamation point raffle,
There you go.
and we're gonna give away another sample. So
Molly, hashtag
don't mess
Molly
around.
is the bomb. Okay, what were you gonna say?
all right. So real quick, while we're waiting on this 5-minute timer, Johnny Walker is releasing 4 new whiskeys to celebrate their
have that on
200th anniversary.
Johnny Walker, extra white.
Super white.
Super white. Walker white.
It's the 200th anniversary, so they're doing a Blue Label 200th anniversary limited edition. The label features illustrations depicting the 200-year journey of the brand. So it's
That'll
paying
be-
homage to some of the cities and countries
200
that have been a
years.
part of the brand over the years. 200 years is a long time. Long time.
Ooh, quick super chat from Zach Andrews.
Zach
Thank you, sir.
Andrews.
Here's to working, drinking, and watching whiskey
I
too.
love
Yeah,
that.
we'll drink to that.
Thank you very much.
The second bottle that Johnny Walker is releasing is the Johnny Walker Blue Label Legendary 8. And
Wait
this
for
one...
it. Legend.
Dairy.
This one has me intrigued. The spirit celebrates the 200 years of the craft. It is smooth,
No kidding. Really?
mellow
Smooth.
Scotch, crafted using whiskey hand-selected
See, Hoagie.
from 8 distilleries that all existed in 1820, including rare expressions from long-closed ghost distilleries.
How much is that?
That
going
sounds
for?
cool.
Let's not get carried away with the price, man. I'll tell you what, when you get the alert that we spent the money,
Oh no!
I'll give you the wink and the nod, right?
It's been labeled ghost, so think about that.
I am thinking that's probably going to be like $400, $500, $600.
Yeah, probably.
So then they also have 2 more editions. The Johnny Walker and Sons Celebratory Blend, limited edition release inspired by the launch of the Old Highland whiskey in the 1860s, which was a breakthrough moment for Johnny Walker and Sons. And then they have the Johnny Walker and Sons Bicentenniary Blend. This whiskey is a sensorial journey down the fragrant aisles of Johnny Walker's original grocery store in
Oh, come
Scotland.
on.
Can you say
Sensorial.
Sensorial.
with layers that reimagine the flavors that shaped Johnny Walker's imagination? I don't know.
What does that even
It's,
mean?
Where
it's
do you
like
even start with
watching
that?
Willy Wonka, right?
This is what you call marketing scraping the barrel.
Oh my God, man!
Sensorial,
Like,
that's the word?
how are we gonna
integrate that
describe
with
this
one of
$20
my
bottle?
meetings tomorrow.
So it almost plays into our topic of non-age statements. Like, listen, guys, we've got a bunch of this crap we gotta get rid of. Let's come up with some kind of marketing thing
Yes,
and put it out
That,
there.
that sounds like the White Walker of Johnny
Oh,
Walker Blue.
good lord!
yes, it does.
I mean, blue is good. We've given blue some high remarks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's actually a really good blend.
And the old classic 18 or the gold.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good one,
absolutely,
too.
good,
Yeah.
good gold.
That's a good
But I mean, it's also they just like Macallan, they really like the brand.
Johnny Walker is starting to like their whiskey more than I am.
Yeah.
And I think that the addition of some of the rare closed ghost distilleries that they've been doing is an interesting thing that they've got going on. But I also think that they're charging way too
Well, and
We
much.
tried
my,
that stuff,
my
but-
concern is they're putting a barrel in 300 barrel mix of they're putting 1 barrel of Port Ellen and 300 barrels of other stuff. I'm like, you can't even taste it. It's
Right.
it's a waste of Port Ellen, quite honestly, to do that.
It's like
Right.
an E150.
Exactly.
it's they're
They
just
put an
cook-
E150 in.
They're pulling
no
fancy
taste, it's
names
just
just to
on
make
color.
it even like some
Yeah.
epsilon's type of whiskey, and it really isn't. But whatever.
How we doing on raffle
We've
tickets?
got 56 seconds
So
left,
there-
and
there
we've
are a
got
lot of people that aren't too proud of-
29 this time. So
All right.
There are a lot of people that aren't too proud of Johnny
Too
Walker.
proud of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it. I think that they put out some decent stuff. I mean, Johnny Walker Black, classic.
Fantastic.
You
One of
can't-
my favorite whiskeys.
I know what's interesting is, and this is a good topic as well. Sometime is just the consistency of what these distilleries can produce. Like some of the Johnny Walker Black. I mean, there's some bottles out there you get time after time, and they're just money. Like
Just
they're
consistent every time.
every single time. And we didn't talk about this much either about the NAS. I mean, you got to think too. Technology has evolved so much in the last. I mean, even recent years, but even more so like 10 and 15 years compared to what they used to do. So
Yeah.
they're able to reproduce things, like especially Dr. Scotch's world, like chemical wise,
Yeah.
so close. Like they can really put stuff on a microscope and really
Yeah.
predict things
Yeah.
and.
They can test peat levels and all that kind of
I
stuff.
mean, maybe not Glyph, but everybody else.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, Glyph starts from a neutral spirit and adds things, whereas other distilleries can start with their base make and kind of alter it a little bit based on what their barrels are producing, as opposed to randomly doing it.
You got it.
Here we go.
Here we
You're
go.
the winner.
Let's do it.
Better not be
Pick a
Mark
winner.
JG.
Scotch on the Bayou.
There you
So,
go.
Guys,
What?
believe it or not, these are completely random.
Completely
we are
random.
not. We
That's
are
why I
not.
love bots.
We're not trying to all send them to Louisiana.
Because I think those last two are from Louisiana, aren't
They
they?
really are.
Yeah,
But by the way,
crazy.
Sunday Evening Scotch said, make sure you go to Whiskey Mystery and subscribe to their channel. Their stuff is fantastic. They do great content. Everything is
amazing
blind
stuff.
just about. So good
And
stuff.
it's I as a 5-year YouTuber enjoy just going and hanging out on their channel.
Oh yeah.
Just to watch and learn, because they do a really nice job. So
Right.
if you aren't subscribed, you should be.
Absolutely. So last one is up right now. I just started it. So congrats Mark JG and Lee from Scotch on the Bayou. We have one more left. Guys, good show so far.
I think it's appropriate that Lee won since we're doing the Victoriana tonight.
It's true.
Because wasn't she kind of like the impetus?
Yeah.
You know
to
what's
get
funny
that?
is she's posted on Instagram today too about all the samples she has. And
Yeah,
she's got to force
I read
herself to
that.
get through it. Well, one more for you. I think you'll be all right with this one.
I bet your husband would help you. I think Mark would be okay with that. What are you doing?
That's a good dram of yours.
Yeah, I like that one.
I'm gonna try that one next.
It's quite nice.
Well,
That's
that's
really nice.
high though.
It is high.
It's no pickle Rick though.
No.
So this is
Go ahead and pronounce it. Don't be-
63.60.
I wasn't going to attempt it. I wasn't going to try.
Wow, this is not an easy one.
Ar-
63.60.
Archaeopteryx paella.
Yeah, sure.
Get Ben
It sounded
Get
right.
Ben on the
Yeah.
line.
7-year-old
I'm
whiskey,
hungry.
66.5%
Yeah.
ABV.
Don't
Need
be,
some water
don't be
on
afraid,
this.
it's nice. It's a nice glass.
You don't need any water on that.
Nah.
So, guys, what do we have coming up? While
Well-
we're waiting on this raffle thing to
Yep.
go through.
So we got reviews coming, right?
We do. We've got some blind challenges coming up. We've got the Dr. Scotch series that we're getting ready to start.
Yep.
I just put pressure on him, make
Yep.
sure he knows.
Well, I don't have any questions. I haven't got any questions in months.
Who?
So how can they get questions? What does Dr. Scotch
So
need?
if you go to Discord, if you sign on Discord, you don't need to be a patron. You can just join in, go onto the Discord channel, which do we have a link in?
It's in our descriptions.
Link in the description. There's a Ask Dr. Scotch channel. Put your questions in there. A lot of people will help with the answer, but then we can
Don't answer.
But then we can do a video on it
And it's helpful.
Publish it.
It's useful for us because we don't know what you want to know.
yeah.
And honestly, the same thing with Thursday night topics. I mean, if you've got some ideas, things you want to listen to, suggestions, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always helpful, right? And if you are not subscribed to the podcast, if you aren't sure what podcasts are, you should learn all about it. Our podcasts are amazing things, and
Wow.
Yeah, they are.
we are about to have additional content just on the podcast.
We have some special stuff coming up. Speaking of that, we've got some special content just for our podcast.
Yeah,
New
we've got
series.
interviews with a lot of people that you may or may not know. We've got a limited edition series with somebody far more knowledgeable than the dummies.
Hell yeah.
That's going to talk in depth for
crazy.
multiple series about this one
I
topic.
think he can talk in depth about anything.
You can
Yes.
just let him go and just
Name
sit
a
cool and
topic
listen.
and he
Yeah.
will.
So we're very excited about some of the stuff we've got coming up on the podcast. And the reason we're doing it there is because that medium is perfect for what we, extended interviews, in-depth answers. That medium is perfect for that.
Yep.
It's not quite as good on the show
Video.
because we're trying to answer questions. We're trying to be interactive with you guys.
And have
But the
fun.
podcast lets those people really give an in-depth, full, complete answer to questions that you guys have, and it's fun to listen to
We
be
also have
honest.
some special Patreon thing only coming up as well.
Yes. Yep, we have a patron-only live show coming up,
Yep.
right?
We need
We
to do
do.
that again.
So that's coming up. If you are not a patron, you are welcome to join us. We have a lot of fun on the Patreon channel.
I'll make that happen,
Um,
Tom.
And the Discord channel is always a good time as well. So
Absolutely.
please feel free to join us there.
We have 1 minute left for our last raffle, and then we're going to close it down, boys.
So again, this is all from Whiskey Mystery. If you are not a subscriber, you should be. They are a lot of fun.
Especially if you win a sample from them.
Yeah.
You have to be subscribed.
Even if you don't, you're going to learn something just from going to their channel. They're a good
water.
time. You guys are,
Hitting your other one. That's pretty
yeah,
good.
it is good, man.
Where's
That's
that
why I
water?
bought it.
Yeah.
It does open up with a little bit of water. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That one.
Who's that from?
remember. It is.
It's got some, I don't know, it's got a nice funk to it.
That's not fun.
What is it? It's a bottle
Leather. Like
um
63.
63.60.
It is a Glentockers.
Guntalkers. Nice. I like that.
Again, we haven't reviewed any of their bottles,
You
barrels.
don't see them.
All right, 7 seconds left, and we've
Six.
got 30 entries this
30
time.
tickets.
All
All
right.
right.
Awesome.
Mark JG, you better not
Someone
be in there.
other
Wheels.
than Louisiana here.
Yep.
Hey,
Let's pick a
All
winner.
right, let's do it.
let's pick a winner. You guys ready?
Here we go.
Here we go.
Bob
Bob H.
H.
Are
Oh
you
my
kidding me?
All right.
Wow.
So
awesome time.
send us your email or your
Mailing address.
physical mail address.
And we are happy to get that over to Whiskey Mystery and have them send you off the samples.
You
So,
got it.
guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We had a
Appreciate
great
it.
time.
Appreciate it. You guys are the
Thank
best.
you.
We'll see you next Thursday. Monday, the new review drops.
You got it.
And we'll see you all here
Thanks
next
to our
Thursday.
special guest for joining us
Hey,
tonight.
thanks for having me.
Eric, thank you. Mike,
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
See you
guys.
next week.
Good night.
Peace out. Stay safe.